These earphones have been a favorite for a lot of my viewers, so I couldn't really ignore their requests to review these. They also come in at a very interesting price point and also include active noise cancelling. So if you'd like to know my viewpoint on these, stick around to find out. Hi guys and welcome back. I did do a review of these earphones predecessors, the OnePlus Buds, and I have been putting this review off because I thought these would be very similar to those, but I am pleasantly surprised. These are different compared to those, and I'm happy to say that I was wrong about that. So anyway, let's jump straight into the build and detail. So this unit that I'm reviewing today comes in obsidian black, and it has a very glossy finish which is prone to scratches and a lot of grease or fingerprints. There's a grey print of branding on the top lid. The inside of the case has a matte black finish which looks like it won't pick up any scratches or show grease marks. I wish the outside of the case was made with the same finish. Behind the case there is a USB-C charging slot which is close to a pairing or reset button. The earphones also have a glossy finish and a glossy touch panel. The touch panel has a very deep navy blue sort of color, and I think the finish is much better than the previous generation. I think this case has a more muted snap when you shut it compared to the older gen. The way these fit in the case has always been odd for me. If the stems were facing outward, I think it would be significantly more comfortable to place them back in the case. The earbuds have an IP55 rating and the case an IPX4 rating, which means your earphones should be okay during light showers or sweating during exercise. On the feature front, there's a lot of standard stuff you see like you do on a lot of other earphones. It's got USB-C charging, Bluetooth 5.2, auto play and pause thanks to in-ear detection. The touch controls are super sensitive. Gentle taps get them to respond so you don't have to smack at them. They've got a neat clicking sound playback when you interact with them. So if you've tapped once, twice or thrice, it clicks those many times to confirm what input you've given them. One tap to play and pause, double tap on either bud takes you to the previous or next track, and triple tap is your voice assistant. You can also customize these tap settings. Touching and holding a touch control area toggles between your noise cancellation settings, which you can have 2 to 4 options to choose from. If you long press and hold the touch area, you'll hear 3 beeps, after which the earbuds will connect to the second device you've paired to, and you can then control the same device with the earbuds. This is a feature I've usually only seen on higher end earphones, multi-device pairing. It's not as seamless as being connected simultaneously, but it's the next best thing. Sadly, these do not have a volume control option. I'm a bit surprised they haven't made their own app to support controlling these from a device, but you do have Hey Melody, which has improved significantly over the last few years. It's almost as if it's a OnePlus app considering how much you can do with it. You can swap between max ANC, normal, off or transparency mode. You can see the battery levels, update firmware should there be any updates. You can customize your earbuds touch inputs, and you can also do a earbud fit test. Speaking about the firmware update, I did have issues with these earphones in my first impressions video, which was basically a white noise sound I got on the right earphone, and I noticed it happened usually when I switched between noise cancelling profiles. I did do a firmware update after that, but it's not fixed the issue at all. The white noise is more apparent when I switch between those profiles, but between songs I can still hear it in the right earphone. I'm beginning to think it's an ANC issue. Hopefully they can fix this soon with another firmware update. Does this white noise interfere with your listening experience? Well, actually it's at a much lower volume, so even if you're listening to any media between 5 to 10%, that's usually loud enough to drown out that white noise. OnePlus claims these have a latency period of about 94 milliseconds, which I think is pretty quick for earphones in this price range, and especially considering they're wireless. But if you're a gamer, you already know you're much better off with wired earphones. Since we're on the topic of latency, I think these only have low latency when you use them with a OnePlus phone, which I don't have, so can't really check. Another thing you unlock with these if you have a OnePlus phone is Dolby Atmos support, which should enhance your movie watching experience. The active noise cancellation is actually pretty good on this. OnePlus claims they can cut noise levels up to 40 dB. It manages to kick fan motor and whooshing noises down really low. My issue remains with that white noise on the right earbud. Now, I don't know if anybody else has faced this similar issue, but if you have and you have a fix for it, please let me know, because I have also tried resetting the earphones through the case and I've had no luck. The white noise still continues. When the ANC is set to off, there is no scratching whatsoever. Only when it's on transparency, noise cancelling and max noise cancelling does this sound come through. It's very unsettling, especially if you're using these to just knock out the noise before you decide to go to sleep, or if you just want some peace and quiet. Another thing I noticed, my wife likes to have the fan on full blast. I'm convinced if she ever wants to change it to a faster one, she'll look at getting an Apache helicopter. So when the fan is whooshing away, that white noise increases in volume, making absorbing content quite uncomfortable. But if you're listening to music and your surroundings are relatively quiet, you can't really tell this issue exists. But if you use the different control modes while listening to audio or absorbing media, it does in fact make a difference to how you perceive how these sound. Having ANC on these is a significant upgrade compared to the previous generation buds. So I'm calling from the usual crowded street that I called from, just to give you a sense of the environmental noise that I'm standing next to. There's a bit of a breeze, there's some construction going on at the back, there's some vehicles going on the road, and today let me take my mask off, so maybe it won't be as muffled as it normally is. So I will be shifting over to the OnePlus Buds Z2 right about now. Just to give you a sense of how well it handles its ANC, it's safe to say that usually the ANC algorithm is not the same as the ANC algorithm. So it'll be interesting to see what the OnePlus Buds Z manage in this kind of environment. I am expecting them to be reasonably good because these seem to be a fan favorite with a lot of people. So one other thing I do want to check and see, which I've started recently, is if you do want to stretch the call times on these, is leave one bud in the case. So I'll talk to you right now with one earphone in. So I'm not sure if this will really make that much of a difference, but it's up to you since you're listening to the actual demo right now. If this does make sense for you, and if you prefer this kind of audio for the person you're speaking to, this definitely does make sense to consider. And I will see you back in the studio. Codecs supported are SBC and AAC, so don't expect any high-res levels of sound to come out of these. 11mm drivers have been squeezed into these, and if I'm not mistaken, it is a larger driver than the original OnePlus Buds. On a volume front, these things can get a little too loud for my liking. 50% is way too loud for any kind of music. I find myself listening to audio at around 30% volume comfortably. 5% volume, while I'm winding down at the end of the day, can still sound too loud. So I've been tempted to go to the last set of earphones I've been testing for night listening rather than these. Soundstage, like most other TWS earphones within this range, form a little bubble of stage within your head. You might just get the illusion of some tones coming from further out of that bubble, but it is very rare. Imaging is reasonably good, but it does have a sense of muddiness between some tones. It's not as clean as I'd like. Certain vocal harmonies tend to merge into each other. Not in a nice way. It's all muddled up, making it difficult to tune into certain nuances in the music. I suspect the way these are tuned lends to this flaw in the imaging. High frequencies are very certainly tweaked. They are exaggerated and come very close to being a bit too shrill with some recordings, but they're not boosted so high that listening gets fatiguing. This tuning works well for some dance music or will add shimmers to some heavier music. Listening to Calvin Harris's Summer, it makes it quite evident just how shrill the highs can be. I would have preferred this frequency to be a little gentler on the ear because it can get a little uncomfortable with recordings that already have boosted highs. Mid frequencies were a little tricky to decipher during my first impressions video, but after spending a little time with these, it's quite clear what OnePlus has done. They've boosted the higher mid-range while reducing the lower mids, making female vocals sound a bit nasal or tinny and male vocals sound quite recessed because of this tuning. Olivia Rodrigo, performing her track Traitor, gives us a lovely performance of emotion and vocal talent, but the emotion is lost here because it sounds like she's singing while holding her nose. Then, when you move on to male vocals, Wes Scantlin from Puddle of Mud, performing Blurry, somehow gets thrown further back in the distance instead of him being up close close and personal. Instruments in these recessed and boosted ranges also suffer from the same effects of male and female vocals. Low frequencies are where these earphones are going to make most people forget about any flaws or lack of features. Because let's face it, who doesn't love bass? The low frequencies have some serious extension, and the dip in the lower mid-range certainly helps accentuate the bass. The boosted bass does in fact mess with the mids to a certain extent, but the combination of loudness these have with the boost clearly show that OnePlus made these keeping EDM in mind over any other genre of music. Listening to an EDM classic, Miami to Ibiza by Swedish House Mafia, really opened up these earphones and showed off exactly what they're capable of. It's almost as if you're visiting a nightclub. The only difference is you can't feel the thump in your chest for obvious reasons. So is that bass really so good that you'd forget about any lack of features or flaws that these have? Well, if you don't really care too much about imaging and how the high frequencies deliver, then maybe yes. Would you still be willing to deal with that white noise off of one earbud? It's something that's genuinely been bothering me, and I think the more time I've spent with these earphones, they've become that much more apparent even when I'm listening to some music. I'm hoping this is an isolated incident and it's not too many people who have this issue. So I will be getting in touch with OnePlus to see if they are willing to replace my earphones. Another thing that bothers me about these is that they're just a little too loud. Even at a lower volume of 5% while I'm trying to go off to sleep, it seems a little too loud. It's too intrusive and I'm not really able to lull myself the way I am with another set of earphones that I'm currently testing. At no point have I really found myself going beyond 50% during the testing because it gets too loud and I obviously don't want to damage my ears. So there are a lot of people out there who do prefer cranking volume up really high, but I definitely wouldn't recommend this because you can damage your ears in the long run. Since the original OnePlus buds I reviewed, I've never really liked the layout. I find it quite impractical because reaching inward for the stems with both your hands seems a bit impractical. Even when you take it off of your ear, the natural way to place them in is holding the stems and let the earbud be inward. It's just a complicated process. I wish they had changed this for this set. So would I recommend these earphones to anyone? It's pretty clear who OnePlus has targeted these earphones for. It's meant for the bass lovers or the people who enjoy listening to heavier set music. I listened to Careless Whisper by Seether on these and man oh man did that track sound absolutely beautiful. It's quite clear that OnePlus has made this specifically for people who enjoy EDM or metal or alternative indie, heavier music in general. If you're into that kind of genre, I think these are definitely the earphones for you. So you get ANC, you get comfortable silicone tip sitting in your ear. It's a comfortable set of earphones. You get a new and improved Hey Melody app that has improved definitely from the last time I used it, which was for the Oppo W51. It's a lot more intuitive. It does a lot more things than I expected it to. It's a lot easier to go through compared to what it was. You also get bass for all the bass lovers out there. And of course, you get all the features that I've mentioned in this video already. And you get all of this for 4,999 here in India. So these do seem to be like the ultimate value for money set of earphones right now on the market. But I would like to put these up against the Nothing Ear One purely because a lot of viewers have told me they have managed to get the Nothings at times for a similar price as the OnePlus Buds Z2. So that would be an interesting comparison. So if you stayed long for this video, I presume you like the content on my channel. And remember to like and subscribe, it does help the channel. And thank you for tuning into Paul's POV for some sound advice.